How quickly can a narrative collapse? How rapidly can international credibility evaporate? India found out the hard way last week following its questionable handling of the tragic Pahalgam attack, as India's attempts to manufacture a security dilemma against Pakistan failed miserably, leaving New Delhi diplomatically isolated and humiliated on the global stage. Consider first, India's immediate reaction to the attack, swift accusations without evidence. Prime Minister Modi's government desperately blamed Pakistan but strangely failed to provide a single credible proof linking Islamabad to the incident. As NPR reported clearly, India has yet to present any public evidence implicating Pakistan. Similarly, the Economist said that India must prove Pakistan's complicity in the attack in Kashmir. How credible is an accusation without proof? Isn't transparency the hallmark of truth? Moreover, let's question India's capability to carry out its threats. Internally, the morale of India's armed forces is notably low. Prominent military experts like retired Colonel Ajay Shukla openly cautioned against aggression, highlighting India's potential isolation if conflict escalated. Even former Indian Army Chief Shankar Roy Chaudhary labelled the Pahalgam incident an intelligence failure and publicly doubted India's ability for decisive military action. If India's own military veterans doubt their capacity, should anyone else take their threats seriously? Now observe the global media reaction. International news giants like Reuters, AP and Al Jazeera cautiously reported the incident without endorsing India's blame game. These outlets stressed Pakistan's immediate condemnation and Islamabad's openness to a neutral investigation, starkly contrasting with India's hostile posture. Even influential Western voices remained carefully neutral. The global media's unwillingness to amplify India's anti-Pakistan narrative speaks volumes. Has the world grown tired of India's perpetual blame shifting? The international community was equally skeptical. Major global powers, USA, UK, EU, and even India's closest allies in the Gulf expressed condolences but notably avoided endorsing New Delhi's accusations. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged restraint on both sides, carefully refraining from assigning blame. The United Nations called for calm without singling out Pakistan. Why did no major country publicly support India's claims? Because evidence matters, something India simply didn't have. Regionally, India faced even deeper isolation in an unprecedented diplomatic embarrassment. None of India's neighbors, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan or Maldives, endorsed New Delhi's narrative against Pakistan. Bangladesh's cautious condemnation of violence notably omitted any mention of Islamabad despite historically close ties with India. China explicitly called for neutrality, urging restraint from all parties involved. Even India's traditional allies kept their distance. Could this isolation be clearer? Pakistan, in sharp contrast, has successfully managed this diplomatic crisis by swiftly condemning the attack and openly inviting neutral international investigations. Pakistan positioned itself as cooperative, credible, and peace-seeking. Notably, influential countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran offered mediation between Pakistan and India, implicitly recognizing Pakistan's responsible stance. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, also focused attention on Kashmir's genuine plight rather than supporting India's questionable narrative. This crisis highlights India's embarrassing loss in information warfare. New Delhi's aggressive yet evidence-free campaign failed spectacularly, as global audiences remained skeptical. Pakistan's timely response combined with international media scrutiny ensured India's narrative gained little traction abroad. Even India's domestic voices are growing skeptical. Senior analyst Ajay Shukla publicly admitted that India's aggressive stance would isolate the country diplomatically and militarily. What good is a narrative that neutral analysts from across borders and international community won't support? Faced with these successive setbacks, Modi's government now desperately seeks face-saving measures. India's symbolic retaliations, such as suspending the Indus Water Treaty, IWT, and diplomatic expulsions, proved ineffective, only resulting in countermeasures by Pakistan. Strategically, Modi's new Kashmir narrative suffered a severe blow. The Pahalgam crisis has punctured Modi's carefully constructed image, exposing the failure of India's Kashmir policy. Without international backing, Modi is left with only symbolic gestures and propaganda, poor substitutes for genuine diplomacy. India's reckless approach risks destabilizing South Asia. Pakistan, however, stands ready. Islamabad's clear warning, echoed by officials, remains unambiguous. Any misadventure across the line of control would face a swift, decisive, and punishing response, much like India's humiliating setback after the 2019 Balakot intrusion. One truth stands clear. India's misguided attempts to exploit the tragic Pahalgam attack backfired. Instead of isolating Pakistan, New Delhi finds itself isolated. Instead of weakening Islamabad diplomatically, India inadvertently strengthened Pakistan's global image as a responsible state committed to peace and truth. The world has spoken, subtly but decisively. India's narrative lacks credibility, its threats lack potency, and its isolation is evident. Modi's government desperately seeks an exit from this diplomatic debacle, but global audiences have already seen through the facade. India must know that the path of truth leads toward peace, not propaganda. This is Amara Farad Baloch and you're watching Nexus Bulletin.